Alright, hello. Uh, Long time no see. I had some personal issues I needed to fix, but it's all good now. I am here with another Haalvu setup. Well, this weapon is new. Obviously a lot of people have been talking about it, trying to figure out how to make it work, because on a lot of people's minds, this weapon is pretty mediocre, and I understand why. The damage is just not the greatest, but you have a few tricks that you can make this weapon really shine and be good in setups, and this weapon is one of the few sources that you can get sentient damage really easily, which is really fine. Sentient damage does increase the status chance on other weapons, by the way, in case you guys missed it from last video. I actually pinned a message that said that I made a mistake, and I didn't know. And in fact, the engineer was the one to actually do the test on stream and prove it, so that was really nice of him. Anyways, the actual setup of the video is gonna involve Harrow. Harrow, one of the most powerful Warframes in terms of gun buffing. He is absolutely amazing, and over the years he has aged really well, in my opinion. And you can do a variety of builds on him. You can either troll with my parasitic armor build because he has an 8 lifesteal and he can get tons of armor from his base shields, or you can go for something like a Nourish build because Nourish is popular and pretty good, or you could go for something like an Evade build because obviously when you're invisible and Harrow aiming headshots all the time, you're gonna keep Evade permanently up. And the build for today is actually gonna be Jade Stars. Okay, hear me out. I know. Jade Stars. What the hell, bro? Everybody be talking about Jade Stars. Everybody be glazing Jade Stars. Jade Stars this, Jade Stars that, Jade Star everything. Yeah, I get it. But Jade Stars is actually best in slot for this build specifically. There is a reason. I'm not like making this up. I'm not putting Jade Stars just because it's new. There is an actual reason for Jade Stars here, and it is best in slot. Trust me. So, now that I can explain, and now that I have your attention, let's actually begin explaining this. So obviously, Haalvu provides sentient damage, which doubles your status chance in session. No, yeah, kinda doubles your status chance. It's not exactly that, obviously. It just gives status chance vulnerability onto the enemy you hit. But in practice, if you have 50% status chance and the enemy has 10 house stacks, then you have 100% status chance onto that enemy. Very simple. This means that if we have Jade Stars here with our strength, we have 254% status chance. This status chance is increased suddenly to 508% instead if the enemy has 10 sentient stacks. And this, Jade Stars, to my knowledge, is one of the only, if not the only abilities that do work with the sentient damage. I have tried a lot of abilities, including Neutron Star and Hydrate's one with the augment that I don't really remember right now. A lot of abilities just don't work with this. Like the majority of abilities in the game, in fact, do not work with the sentient damage. Jade Stars does work because it has the innate status chance, but I also thought that Neutron Star would work because Neutron Star also has innate status chance, but for some reason it doesn't. I am not sure at this point, but if you guys do find an ability that actually works with Haalvu's sentient damage, please do let me know in the comments, because this is one of the things that can probably make or break the Haalvu as a weapon, and potentially newer weapons. Since we're going to tower, we're gonna have probably way more weapons that deal sentient damage on their own, so that's gonna be very interesting. We can see that Jade Stars will get buffed quite a bit by the weapon, dealing double damage essentially, but Jade Stars is also getting buffed by Harrow, because Jade Stars is coded a bit weird. Even though Jade Stars doesn't actually gain damage from sources like Vigorous Swap, for example, or Arcane Arachne, like, you would think that this ability is not coded as a weapon. But that's not entirely true, because this ability does benefit from Nourish, if you ever run Nourish on another frame, and it can also benefit from crits and crit sources. So for example, Covenant increases your crit by 50%, it will make Jade Stars orange crit. And Jade Stars does have a crit multiplier at base of 1.0, but any pet you run with Tenacious Bond, that crit damage at base will get increased to 2.2. So now critting with Jade Stars actually does something. And fun fact, if you ever run the Smita Kavad instead of the Adarza, and you get a charm for the orange crits from the charm will actually make Jade Stars orange crit and make it fully benefit from other sources of critical damage like Tenacious Bond or Arcane Crepuscular. You can do whatever you want with this information, obviously, but it's a pretty funny interaction with Smita Kavad that actually makes it a pretty competent pet outside of Harrow for this setup. But sadly, because Harrow red crits on all of his weapons, nerfing the red crits to an orange crit just for the sake of Jade Star's orange critting, it's not worth it in my opinion. But yeah, that's the idea. Harrow tons of reload speed, tons of fire rate, gives you flat crits, buffs Jade Stars on its own. The weapon itself buffs Jade Stars through sentient and viral damage, and magnetic damage is just there for the extra aptitude stacks, because if you ever fight an enemy that has overguard, you're gonna deal magnetic, then the magnetic itself is gonna turn into an electricity proc after the overguard breaks, and that provides you with 2 extra stats for galvanized aptitude to get increased damage. And this is the same build as yesterday, or not yesterday, the other day that I posted a video on the previous video, so you can just check that video if you want to see more mechanics about this gun, as I'm not going to explain it on this video. I have explained it before, and I think it's not needed. Enough explanation, let's go to an actual mission. Classic and in the void, no nullifiers. Love it. Here we will be able to see the power of the gun, essentially. So this build does have lasting covenants, and one thing that I want to mention is that the build has Archon Vitality, which only increases the status procs of Jade Stars by 1, and doesn't actually double them again. And that means that you can easily replace it with a defensive mode if you would wish. So now we have the fire rate, Covenant's about to run out. Now we have Lasting Covenant, and there is your crits. We have Arcane Ages for our main survivability 2 alongside our first ability, which is pretty decent, but yeah, as I said, you probably want to replace Archon Vitality with something else. I think it's not a bad idea. But yeah, as you can see, the damage on the primary fire is pretty great. If we add Jade Stars too, then we get hit procs from the Jade Stars that increases our galvanized aptitude. And if anybody survives, if I find some tanky unit that survives, Jade Stars is gonna deal a ton of damage and a ton of status procs to them. So ideally I'm gonna wait for an Eximus unit to show that, but let's go to more practical stuff. Now, if I want to change mode here, the mode changing from, one mode to the other is coded the same way as in counter modes. So it does scale with your reload speed. And as you can see, it's almost instant now. So that's pretty cool. Which makes this a really good pick for Harrow to just watch from one mode to the other. Here you see, like, this guy has 60 hit procs immediately, which is really, really cool. But yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant with the Jade Stars interaction. Basically, as long as Jade Stars is active, it's gonna crit on its own. It's gonna deal way more damage because it's critting, and then it's gonna also get a ton of status procs because you're putting a lot of sentient stacks onto the enemy, and then the viral procs will also boost the hit damage from Jade Stars to ridiculous amounts. So not just the weapon dealing its own quite ridiculous damage already, which is really, really good, but even if you use the All-Fire mode like this and just move around the tile set, the amount of damage that's gonna proc from Jade Stars is pretty ridiculous. So yes, Jade Stars is in fact the best in slot here, easily, because of this reason. Which makes it a really top tier ability for builds like this and for the Haalvu in general. It's kind of like a match made in heaven, and I'm not sure. It does feel intentional, but it also feels kind of weird that Jade Stars is like one of the few abilities that can actually work with this as well as it does. But yeah, man, Harrow is like obviously a great and fun frame to play, and for this weapon specifically, it makes it way, way stronger than it normally is. So yeah, a lot of people are gonna complain in the comments, and I already know it, that, oh, Harrow is doing this and it's not the weapon, but like, yeah, that's kind of the point, I think. The weapon just works alongside Harrow, and together they are putting out a ton of damage, and that's actually quite fun, in my opinion. And also pretty cool. Also makes swapping modes way easier depending on what you want to do, which is just a really nice quality of life. The instant reload that you get, or the instant swap that you get from swapping modes, it's just a really cool feature. Yeah, just adding a bit more details on how you can play basically in this. Yeah, there can be variations to this build to make it a bit stronger. but it's mostly in terms of modding, in my opinion, and the quality of life you want to get from modding on your own. I'm not sure if I would change any of the abilities or like how much ability strength I'm getting from this build or anything like that. I would instead maybe change how much survivability you can have from a build like this, because obviously for base heal path this will easily work. It will absolutely destroy base heal path, but above that you still probably will have issues if Arcane Aegis doesn't proc. I was waiting for bubble, I was kinda scared. What I like a lot about this weapon, to be honest, is its primary fire. Its primary fire is really fun to use. A lot of people are glazing the alt fire, and obviously it's nothing that we've ever seen before in terms of a weapon. And it kinda is like Zaku's automatic targeting, although sometimes currently it doesn't work. It can dismiss, and it really happens on heavy gunners. Let me see if I can replicate it. Yeah, you see there was like a lot of misses there on this heavy gunner. I'm not sure, but thin units like heavy gunners and Gokstacks officers, the weapon can dismiss them, which is kind of sad. I'm not sure why. Outside of that, the alt fire is really cool, and obviously the gun is also extremely cool. Also, as you can see, I'm running circumvent for this build for the overgrowth stripping if I ever need it, but yeah. You could probably go for something else if you want duration, and then yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like this is enough survivability for me if I played correctly, but another layer of survivability never hurts, because the damage is definitely enough with Jade Stars and everything else on this build. At least it feels enough. Like, I can even body shot and it doesn't really matter, because if I body shot, I just pump a lot of tower status onto people and they just die really, really quickly, so really good. Really good. Just a really cool Haalvu setup that does quite a bit of damage and pretty much deals with anything you throw at it. So definitely something to do if you're either bored or you like the Haalvu and you wanted to make it work. You can easily go for something like this, as it synergizes really well with both abilities onto the frame, the weapon itself, and you know, even pets can synergize then if you want to do the Smith attack where you get the orange crits on the Jade Stars. You know, it's all really cool. It's all really cool. And I'm finally glad that I can say that Jade Stars in this case is easily best in slot, and that it makes the build way stronger than it would have been if I chose some other subsume like Roar, Eclipse, or you know, even Zada's Whisper. But there's actually some really cool tech here. I also love how this gun looks and sounds. It's just, I always like gun aesthetics more than actual performance, and you know, this gun in terms of aesthetics is really cool. So making it work like this and this well is something that I really wanted to do, and I'm glad I did it. Thank you very much for watching another video of mine, and I will see you on the next one.